Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Trekyards. He is, last time I checked, Commander Calkins.
And he is forever and always Captain Foley.
And today we're here back with you guys to talk about Strange New Worlds, Episode 2, Season 1, called Children of the Comet.
I think you're all wondering, did lightning strike twice?
It did.
Oh, there you go. Stuart, what do you think? Full review. Obviously spoiler-filled, and join our full review tonight, of course, guys.
I absolutely loved it. Again, it felt very TOS. It was almost, at one point I was like, damn, they're making TOS look bad by comparison. This is like the new TOS. I wish TOS was this flashy. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I liked all the interactions with the crew, how it started out with the, hazing the new girl, essentially. Besides that, I mean, the alien was perfect, not overdone, but still human-esque, but not to the point where it could be somebody in prosthetics. It was a really well done alien, I think. And we got action, we got some ship action, we got some shuttle action, and it all looked pretty good in motion. I really thought it was good. And I liked the kind of ancient astronauts vibe that was going on with, seeding life. I assumed that there'd be more microbes and stuff in the water that they didn't mention that would bring like new animal life to the planet as well. Because it's speculated that that's how life got on Earth as well. So I thought that was really cool. Overall, fun episode. Really enjoyed it. How about you?
Didn't like it as much as the first one.
Didn't think so.
Yeah, and it didn't grab me in the same way as the last one. I liked it fine, but it was missing that little spark for me. I think probably because it felt a bit bitty, like it cut between too many small little chunks, and none of them quite got going. And while they're all fine, I was sort of like waiting for something big, it just a little bit bitty for me. But that said, when you break down to those bits, it's got a lot of good ideas. And certainly having the crux of the story be hugely referential to Uhura being a singer is lovely, and that was nice to incorporate in her first story. That obviously adds up in TOS. So it's very depressed they gave her such a dark backstory, because we don't need that for our canon characters to have their parents and brothers and sisters be killed. So disappointed in the production to do that to Uhura, because that's now canon. So great, thanks. But it was nice. I like the twists. I like the twist of the force field. That got me. So I thought it was going to be something else. I think we all did. And suddenly there's a force field around the state of the asteroid. It's fun, or comet. Well, I do think when the big ship shows up, there's a few weird editing problems where it just shows up. They don't say it warps in. They would have seen it, but it's too big to not be seen, especially it's physically with it. So there's a few problems like that where because the show beats out the logic, but because it's so at other places, that's a problem. And the only other moment of a similar problem, which I actually had to go back and watch, I'm like, well, what actually happened here is that when the Enterprise fakes being damaged, the way it presents it is that they go in front of the asteroid so that if they shoot it, it'll explode and destroy the asteroid. But then, as soon as he says we're disabled, they cut to the view screen, and the comet is so far away the blast will never touch it. And they say the tractor beam, but it implies they're tractor beaming the comet, not them, because there's no CGI shot, there's no rumble, and so the big disconnect there for me. I was like, what actually happened? I just sort of ignored it because I was like, well, I guess Spock's that. I don't know. It was very confusing to me. It wasn't. They just needed one shot of the ship actually tractor beaming it away would have fixed that, but that was a bad editing problem. I think it just ran out of money to throw another space shot in. But the characters were fun. It's nice to see, as we predicted last week, that there'll be character-focused bits, but they're still going to have Spock and Pike stuff every week. But this is the Uhura show, and they threw a lot in the Uhura show.
Got some Ortegas. We got the introduction to Hammer. We didn't really do much, besides cut some carrots.
Because they're definitely framing it as everyone will get something each week, but the peripheral stuff, but everyone will get something, and then they'll get their own episode where they are really it. And that is a great way of doing it.
The whole when she asked somebody to sing, I'm like, here we go. That short Trek set this up. Like I said, it definitely had that TOS feel again, which it's perfect. It's exactly the story you would have seen in the 60s. I'm really digging it. I don't know if I like it more than the first one. It's probably around the same for me.
I think the first one had a better pace and a better build and then payoff. This was lots of small builds and progressive payoffs, but there wasn't a big epic moment. Even the last moment where they sort of an epilogue where they talk about the predestination, that kind of felt a bit odd to me, because having 2 episodes in a row where the future is known, do we change it, not change it? And it kind of muddies the message as well, because if they knew the future and it happened, that kind of makes number one's thing about Pike can change the future not really work thematically with the point you just proved the future is set and you did it. So bit of a weird thematic. They can play both fields. Didn't quite work for me. Like back to back was odd. Although I loved the Pike line of what you can do in 10 years, and it kind of hit him like a knife. There's lots of very tiny moments that are really, really solid.
I love the idea of being able to save the cadets and not suffer the fate that you think you're going to. And at the end, he looks up the cadets, and right now they're, of course, kids.
All children. Which is sad, but nice. Yeah. It's like, oh.
Yeah. I understood that perhaps, well, they didn't mention this, but I wish they would have, that perhaps the comet was actually sent from the future and has been, sent like a million years in the past or something to seed the galaxy as it's supposed to. But we didn't get that. We just got that, it was predetermined vibe, which, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that necessarily, but...
Especially as in Picard, they just changed the timeline, so predestination only kind of works if it stays true. And what if that came from the control timeline where they destroyed the timeline, and so the information would be wrong at a certain point. So it's not... I didn't need two time travels in the same go. Well, I was kind of visualising the Stargate episode where Mayborn's on the planet and he's king, and they have certain things that are foretold. It's just a guy went into the future and just wrote things down. It's that simple. That's why I kind of vibed it, is that like someone just went and mapped out. They've got no other knowledge. They did a mission, and now they've got... the more the episode goes on, obviously, you think, okay, they're just zealots who are going to fight, okay. But the way it plays out, obviously, I like the fact they're not friends at the end, but it, despite a shootout with damage and people injured, they'll be friends at the end, give or take. But to keep it all vague, and yet as they build, the fact that it's right and true, yeah, it's both messages at the same time. But how many of these are out there? Like I said, who they sent by, clear technological but unexplored. Although I will say, I'm kind of glad that the trailer images we got weren't lingered on too much. We got just enough time in the big LED wall room with the egg. We got just enough time on the surface that were all from the trailer. And I was kind of worried there'd be these long, drawn-out sequences. So we've kind of burned through a lot of the trailer. I mean, this is the trailer episode. The
one small issue I had was the whole, we're going to fire the photon torpedoes that are changed to have the ion engines attached to them. Cool. They hit the force field, and then it's like, well, it only puts up the force field and it detects a threat. So let's beam down. It's like, okay, well, maybe you might want to beam something first just to make sure that doesn't kill everybody you beam down because the force field activates. Or try beaming down 4 ion engines and remotely use them instead of sending a landing party. It just seemed like an odd choice.
That's a real good point, Stuart. That's a real good point. Although this is just the timing of the alien ship showing up. It kind of implies that they were far away, but then that's not how they explain themselves. They explain they're literally there to watch it, so they should have been literally with it the entire time. And they obviously weren't cloaked because we didn't get any indication of that. Like I say, it kind of shifts your tone so many times.
Yeah, I like that they were called shepherds as well. Just keeping the comet's name was Mohanit.
We heard that a lot.
That
yeah.
Kind
of remind me of the Dune character. The name for him.
Yeah, but you're right. The scene where it's like, there's an alien ship, and it's like all of a sudden it's just there. There's no incoming, warp signature, nothing like that. It's just they're not there. Boom, they're there, and they're huge.
And they say they're more advanced than them by a long way.
Yeah, that was a little out of left field, but
it kind of right turns the pace because it was so solid up to that point. Kind of like, swerves left. Which is odd to introduce another alien race of way more advanced. It's interesting. Are they going to come back again? Because now you've got,
No, I don't think so.
Help us with the Romulans. You guys can easily win. That said, though, as they often do with these treks, 3 torpedo spread took them down 25% shields. And then went down to 25% shields, and then all of the blasts didn't do anything to them. So once again, they've kind of failed in the pacing shields things. Because if literally 6 torpedoes will kill you, and then also they fire 1 phaser blast, they have no shields, it damages their weapons. How is that a good pacing thing if you just said you can't win against them, but your phasers get through their shields and make them think twice, despite them, they could kill you in 5 more weapons, which they have plenty of. So there's, there's a few, that's just bad writing, but it's kind of if the worst stuff is the space battle stuff, okay. Space battles can be hard. They didn't do well space battles, but well other stuff.
I think they're going to be a one-time alien, just like we've seen so many in TOS. These overpowered or godlike aliens that you never see again. So,
And I did watch a brief amount of the Ready Room, and he was an animatronic with a guy's mouth.
oh wow!
So, because I thought it was a good CG puppet. I thought it was kind of like
So did I. Yeah.
Cause he obviously looked weird and wrong because he's not human dimension, but he was on an LED walled slice puppet. It was great, yeah, great. And no hologram, view screen.
And bonus use for the tricorder as a defibrillator using the little scanner. That was cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, nothing against that at all. And the fact that it goes on a set spot, so there's like a set conductive point. Yep, no problem with that at all.
So adding to the lore there, which is cool. One thing I did notice, Spock holds his tricorder the correct way. That's one of the things that always bugged me about TOS. Like, I always turned it towards the camera and never anything on the screen. It just always irritated me as a kid. Still does. I guess it's his unique way. I'm wondering if sometime during the course of the show they're going to be like, who's going to try it the other way and hold it like that as like...
Oh, much more comfortable.
yeah, something like that.
Well, they put Uhura singing in straight away, so who knows? And they already put the flirting with Chapel in. That I mean, they're kind of going a bit heavy-handed on that to go straight in episode 2 with that's going to be his subplot, considering they don't really have much in TOS, and especially not if they've already got a prehistory. And she gets married between this. And they have a little one thing, but apart from that, etc. It's although Ethan's still great, you know, he feels like a less mature Spock, which is great. And Pike feels like a nice mature Pike. Although they always tend to speak too much like modern humans. Pike was a bit like 5% over the modern English vibe, but okay, that's just they want to write modern, you know.
Well, good segue into what I was just going to talk about. I like the Pike's reaction to the dress uniform. Let's go help me with the ribs, and the ribs are messy to eat, so that's hilarious. She's going to get rib sauce all over her dress uniform.
Yeah, and the fact that Ortegas can walk up in literally just the equivalent of sweatpants. It's really interesting to see them in civilian uniforms because you don't associate that. So that's an interesting...
I like the Hemmer introduction. They established that, yes, he's got, the telepathic thing. They got, the other senses compensating. And that Spock can kind of communicate with him telepathically.
Set up
I thought
much.
Was a nice lead in to something later. So... no, I thought that was well done. I just wish there was more Hemmer in it because I do like Hemmer. I like his attitude, and it'll be interesting to see how that character plays out. So,
which is remarkable because you've only seen one trailer where it says like 2 things.
Yeah,
like that's it. That's all you've seen. You know.
We already know them better than all of Discovery's bridge crews. So,
I think it's probably a smidge too curmudgeon, but I can in this one's context where it felt like when you're a celebrity with a catchphrase, if someone thinks they're clever and comes up to you and says that catchphrase, you've heard it hundreds of times. So the fact that So I in that one context I get it. I hope he lightens up a little bit, becomes more personable.
You work with a curmudgeon like every day.
Yes, but I know how to get to the deep nuggety core of your personality.
And there are certain catchphrases that annoy both you and I in regards to Trekyards as well.
So how do we start, Stuart?
But yeah, no, I think Hammer's going to be one of my favorite characters, even though he was barely in this one. I thought he'd be in it more, but. I also wondered why they didn't send down a doctor, especially when they're like, he's going to need like medical attention. We got to get him to the ship. Would have been great if we brought a doctor. Just it's probably good procedure to have a doctor on board on an away team. I'm just saying.
We're taking the tension out of the scene, I guess. Although once he's hurt, he's not.
For sure.
Once he's hurt, he's not really mentioned again. So. There isn't really, I mean, honestly, he was just there just to get injured. There wasn't really, you know what I mean? He kind of felt a bit redundant and like, here's Kirk, bye Kirk.
He's the red shirt without being the red shirt.
He was, 100%. Anything else? And Spock, I'm not sure how they thought they'd get away with that because surely the aliens would shoot Spock because if they got more advanced senses, they would know exactly what he's doing. They wouldn't think, coincidentally, a massive chunk of ice burned across... Wow, why is there heat in space? I don't know why they didn't quite say, how dare you move it? Because their whole point is that it can't be moved. So they did move it. Pike's saying, well, we didn't touch it. Yeah, you did. The Enterprise did. Just fire this shuttle. For a little bit of a... They're not that stupid, especially been following it for 1,000 years or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like a bit in your face.
I'll have to rewatch it because I was under the impression that Spock was going to be doing something else, like doing something that he didn't get a chance to do, and the comet diverted its course beforehand. That's why Pike's like, and we haven't touched it. I thought that was the implication there.
No, because what they do is they go to the comet so they can drop them off and not be noticed. Then they lose power and they trap them in the way. And then once they've pulled the Enterprise away to save distance, Spock then turns on his shield to make them like a heat shield. And because the comet's made of ice, it then melts a giant section because that'll then, I guess the weight of it then shifts course. I don't know. They didn't explain it at all.
Yeah, the equilibrium would be off. I need to watch it again.
Yeah,
I was just like, that's what these reviews, we only watch it once.
Yeah,
and then film right afterwards.
It was a confusing bit, and that's why I say it wasn't a satisfying climax. It was a bit confusing. I mean, I appreciate Spock was a badass, but also, is he really the pilot that you would send? Shouldn't you send the pilot character?
One thing I'm glad they didn't do, which I really, really expected, was the whole point at the beginning where they're all laughing at Pike's story about the pants and the security officer thing.
Nausicaan, pre-TOS mention Nausicaan.
Was where it's like sometimes something is so absurd you just gotta laugh. After Uhura was telling the story about her parents dying, I expected Spock to be like, ha ha ha.
Oh yeah.
I was really waiting for that, and I'm glad they didn't do that because that would have been not appropriate at all, and he would have known better. And thank God they didn't do that. That would have been the easy way out that I think something like Discovery would have done. But as soon as she was telling the story and they show Spock like twice, and I'm like, no, please don't, because I could see him trying to do it because they just told him that sometimes laughing at others' misfortune is. But thank God they didn't do it.
Didn't think that, but I can see it. Might have been
more of a Data thing, but you know.
Yeah, I was just waiting for him to laugh in general in the episode. I'm glad it was very small moments off screen so it wouldn't be awkward to see Ethan laugh awkwardly. Like, for what it was a payoff without being too awkward or annoying. So, yeah. Yeah.
So, other than that, I thought it was a good episode. It wasn't better nor worse than the first one. I think for me it's pretty much right along the same course, but it definitely feels 1960s TOS Trek as far as storytelling and all the points.
Well, this is going to be a really unique show because there isn't an overarching arc per se, so you can just not like the story as much or like it better for whatever reason. These are going to be very different in our review style because this just didn't grab me as much. Okay? Although I will say, I think they tremendously well did the aliens on the planet vibe. We got brief glimpses. That was plenty. I felt for them. I thought makeup was excellent. It was a great use of just, hey, alien makeup. Good. We don't need CGI. We don't need really big fancy. Just that is enough. Great. You had to see them. You had to feel them, but they felt nomadic. Very, very good. Very effective. And all they needed. So that was, like I said, Discovery were doing them in a big, weird, stupid way, and they did it a nice, smart, gentle way that worked really well, considering. Yeah. Props to them for that.
Yeah, I thought the premise of, introducing water, which will increase the agriculture and all that.
It's probably going to kill a lot of life forms because they're not used to it. And, I mean, because it radically change an ecosystem, but, you'll make new life.
That's evolution, baby.
Via alien comet from the past future.
Anyway, I think that's about it for us. So, I want to hear your thoughts, though, guys. Comment down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and notify yourself with the bell icon so you can join us for our lives. We're going to do a full breakdown and review of this episode later today, and we want you there to put in your 2 cents, essentially, in real time and talk to us, because we like, discussing what you guys have on your mind as well. So,
and if you want to do that, please do. But if you can also support us directly via Patreon, PayPal, join the channel on YouTube, or even now, I don't know if you saw it, Stuart, you can now tip with a comment on a YouTube video.
Mm-hmm. I activated that. It's called Super Thanks,
which is an insane thing, and that might change our game as well. So if you want to say $1 thank you for the video pre-recorded, that would possibly change our lives. So if you can, please do. Also, chat during lives to have a direct conversation with us as well. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
So until then, he's Commander Cocky.
He's Dr. Foley. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.